This is The Playbook with Mark Collier.
Hi, everyone. Welcome into The Playbook on ASBN. I'm your host, Mark Collier. Each week on The Playbook, I sit down with emerging entrepreneurs, seasoned business owners, and resource experts to deliver relevant information to the ASBN audience. The Metro Atlanta Land Bank is a mission-driven organization that identifies delinquent and dilapidated properties and works to convert those properties to productive use within the community. Christopher Norman is the executive director of the Metro Atlanta Land Bank, and Christopher is going to discuss his organization's mission, vision, and impact on the city of Atlanta. Welcome into the Playbook, Chris.
Hey, thanks for having me, Mark.
All right, great. Well, listen, the land bank, it's a foreign concept to most folks, but
Yes.
we're going to get into that in a minute. But first
Sure.
of all, tell me a little bit about yourself, kind of your background, and kind of what led you to the position you're in today.
Sure. So I'm a native of Atlanta, so,
One of the few and the
proud to
proud.
be proud to be standing still and standing strong.
All right.
So I did work here at Emory. That's when I did my undergraduate as a math major, and then it kind of got me into technology. Then I moved over to got my MBA from Northwestern
Very good.
Kellogg School.
That's back in my neck of the woods. I'm a
Yes.
Chicago native.
Okay, outstanding. So great city, great town,
Yep.
And that brought me into the world of banking.
Okay.
And so from that point going forward, I actually was a banker. I did corporate banking, did investment banking, did public finance work.
Okay.
Probably did close to $1 billion worth of debt and equity transactions of a variety of different things, from startups to
Substantial.
Fortune 50s. So did a lot of structuring deals, a lot of analysis and things of that nature. And so along that way, that brought me to an opportunity to come to the land bank,
All right.
which I did not know what a land bank was. So the mayor's office at that time, Mayor Shirley Franklin, they were looking for individuals to staff some of the authority boards.
Sure.
And the land bank was one that they had an interest in trying to really move to the next level.
Okay.
And therefore they asked me to submit a resume
All right.
to be considered for the board of the land bank.
All right.
And so I joined the board as vice chair of the board, served for a few years, and I actually came in replacing outgoing council member, Derek Bozeman, who was running for city council president.
Sure.
So I came on board and I stayed that position for a couple of years, and then I moved up to chair of the board. And so I served as chair of the board for a few years.
All right.
As well. And during that time, we started looking at the organization and how can we optimize its utility. And so we did our first operational review, which resulted in the first strategic plan for the organization.
Excellent.
And along that road, we determined that we needed some change in leadership.
Okay.
And so we brought on a new director. And then subsequent to that, we determined that it was time to really continue to move forward in the vision that we had laid out in the strategic plan. And therefore, my fellow board members and others asked me if I would actually help fulfill that vision that we laid out. And I figured I'd do it for a few years, 2 to 4 years.
That was a big time vote of confidence, man, for the board to say, hey, listen, we'd like you to step into this very important role.
Yes, absolutely. Right. So I was honored for that opportunity. And that was also at the time of the crash. And so there's a lot that was going on in the world and in the United States.
Absolutely.
Markets were unsettled, particularly with housing. And so I stepped in to actually become the executive director. And so fast forward, that 2 to 4 years has turned into 12 years. So that's the story of how I became to serve on the board and how I've been involved ever since.
All right, well, very good. If you're 10 years now, 12 years running, it tells me you're doing some things right.
Yes, well, thanks.
Right.
I hope so. I think so.
Well, fantastic, man. So let's kind of peel back the layers.
Sure.
For those who are not as familiar with the land bank and what they do, kind of briefly tell us, what is the land bank and what is its mission and vision?
Sure. So land banks are these public, quasi-public entities that are established by a state statute.
Okay.
The state of Georgia created a statute that says you cities and counties, you can create this entity called a land bank.
Okay.
And that was initially done back in 1990.
All right.
And the whole goal was to really deal with distressed, overlooked, abandoned, blighted, tax delinquent, foreclosed properties, all those properties that we drive by and say, gee, I wish somebody would do something with that property. We created an entity to actually deal with that.
Excellent.
And so the land bank in Atlanta was actually the fourth created in the United States.
Okay.
They're now 250. So there's been a lot of growth from the example that we set
Sure.
and for. So we have basically been at work doing the work of that. And so I describe it as a kind of a nimble entrepreneurial entity that really sits in a government footprint.
Okay.
So is specifically designed to have some level of nimbleness and fast reaction, as opposed to typical, you would think, typical government type entities.
Correct. For better or worse, many government entities, they do move with glacial speed.
Yes.
Which and oftentimes is not in the best interests of the constituents that we serve. So I'm happy to see that you're kind of taking a different business model in that regard and kind of moving things along a bit more quickly.
Sure. Absolutely.
You touched on something very important, the dilapidated housing stock.
Yes.
It's no secret that affordable housing is at the top of most big city mayors and governors' initiatives to get more of it out. So I can see how your organization is going to play an integral role in bringing that to fruition. So.
Absolutely.
All right. So you told me a little bit about your background.
Yes.
Talk to me a little bit about your transition to the executive director, and with a 12-year tenure, why do you continue to stay?
No, that's a good question.
All right.
So I think we've made a point of trying to really elevate this organization, right? We saw the utility, and I speak we of the board, the staff, and all our stakeholders, particularly the county and the city.
Sure.
We saw there's a benefit of having this entity that we kind of describe as we have all the powers of a real estate company, a governmental real estate company. So we can buy, we can sell, we can develop property. We typically just stay on the buy and convey side of the equation. And so along that way, we've just encountered a variety of different projects, time after time after time, and we've just done a lot of different things. And so one thing I was able to do was say, look, we had this strategic plan. We laid a North Star for where we were and what we could become. And also at the same time, there were other things happening in the state. So my work has not just been limited to the Metro Atlanta Land Bank, which is actually our new DBA. The legal name of the entity is the Fulton County City of Atlanta Land Bank Authority, Inc. It's quite a mouthful, right? So, yes.
So it's encompassed not only the city, but also surrounding, I would say surrounding Fulton County, where the city of Atlanta resides.
Correct. So, and I'll just step back. So legally, the way they're structured, that it takes a county and at least one city in a county to create a land bank in the state of Georgia. So the county can't just create one, and the city can't create one. So you actually have to have cooperation with cities and counties. Whereas in Fulton County, there's no unincorporated land. So actually, they're all cities. And so right now, we're relegated to the city of Atlanta. But we are looking to bring on some additional cities to become part of the Metro Atlanta Land Bank. Those are all cities in Fulton County.
Very good.
So that is something we're looking at.
So just kind of a follow-up question to that. Have you, in these initial discussions with these other municipalities within the county of Fulton, have they been well received? Is this something they'd like to be a part of? I would guess, yeah.
Yes, the answer is yes.
All right, good.
And so at this point, we have there's a count of at least 3 that we're in conversations with to become legal members of the land bank, and they would have board seats and basically be afforded to all the strengths and roles and resources of our land bank.
All right, fantastic. So let's talk a little bit about your background prior to becoming executive director, and talk to me a little bit about how your background experience kind of contributes to your role as a leader in your organization.
Sure. So one thing I've been lucky to do with the financial background that I have, and then the formal educational training, is really kind of given me a different lens in which to view activity of the land bank. So I really do have a keen focus on things such as profitability or return on investment, best business practices, laying out stretch goals and things of that nature, SMART goals. How do you basically achieve and accomplish moving things forward? And so I brought that to this, but also had a tremendous amount of transactional experience. With a wide variety of deal structures and types of deals, and also individuals, right? So I've dealt with everything from startups to Fortune 50s. So a lot of different personalities, a lot of that goes along with that. And one of the things about the land bank is everything we do is primarily cooperative.
Good.
So we have to learn how to work with people, and that's going to be all across the board. So you have to work with your everyday citizen who has concerns about the community, those nonprofit developers, for-profit developers, funders, philanthropy, your political leadership, and everybody else who's interested in what's happening. So bringing all of that to bear, I think I bring a different lens in terms of not only seeing how fast the private sector works. Having done financial transactions, they tend to be sometimes very rapid. To also with a balance of public, sometimes things are intentionally slowed down, so that you do have a opportunity for public input.
Absolutely.
But you just don't want to drag it out forever till you actually end up with nothing. So it's kind of a balancing act. And also the other part that I think people miss with entities like a land bank is they can be accretive to the balance sheet of the county and the city. So these aren't not just cost centers. We can be funded, but we're also delivering product, which is increased tax revenue, increased value of property. And also we're able to retain profit or generate income for the land bank. So we're not solely reliant on being funded by our municipal parents, the city and the county. And so that's a lens that I bring.
No, I like that. I know that there's an old adage out here, what cannot be measured cannot be improved. So you bringing those types of private sector best practice protocols to the public sector is only going to enhance the value that you deliver to the organization, and that organization delivers to the citizens of Atlanta and the citizens of Fulton County. So I see how that symbiotic relationship works.
Yes, that's the goal.
Well, very good. So how has your programming and mission of the land bank kind of evolved over your tenure? And I know 12 years is a relatively long period of time. I'm sure things have evolved. So talk to me a little bit about that.
Sure. So our program is quite diverse, right? So we're involved in a wide variety of things. I would kind of describe us as, and I'll kind of reflect on how things have changed. So I look at the organization as starting off, we were kind of a nice gentle walk. Then we started to kind of jog a little bit more. And now I think we're running in terms of reaching our full potential.
Now you're moving toward a full sprint,
so
or
we're moving for
a healthy jog is going to be
We're looking
right.
for a full Olympic sprint is what we're really trying to get to. So land bank was really started back right leading up to the Olympics. And so there was a high focus on revitalization. And so we were really cleaning up the city, we were putting on our best face, and and consequently to the success of the Olympics, a lot of people liked Atlanta. A lot of people stayed here. And so
I'm one of them.
Okay, well, yes. And so we also had the issue where we had the suburban explosion before that. So people had left city neighborhoods and they were kind of out in the suburbs, and folks were moving back. And so we were heavily involved in revitalization work. And so then we started shifting, as you mentioned before earlier in the conversation, affordability started creeping into the lens, right? And so now it has actually become full front and center.
Yes, it has.
Because we have a problem that a lot of cities would like, which is a lot of people like Atlanta, a lot of people moving here. We continue to hear about new corporate relocations. We have technology is moving. We have logistics. We have the movie business. We have healthcare. We have Georgia Tech, fintech, capital.
Burgeoning,
That's right. We have all these things that are basically exploding here. So that brings along with a lot of demand for housing. So now we're being more tasked to look at affordable housing in the work that we do. So I would say along that way, our programming has shifted along that to match up with that demand. One interesting thing is when I joined, we had really not held property. We were the land bank. But we really would conduit transfers of property. A property would come in and would go right back out. Then we actually started acquiring property by various means of buying it, having it donated, transferred from government. We've received property from U.S. Attorney, District Attorney. So actually we started doing that, and we started creating more competencies also. So now we have property management vendors, we have insurance vendors, we have demolition crews, we work with a lot of different developers that are seeking land for that. And we're more of a B2B model versus a B2C. And I say that because other land banks, some of them do deal directly to consumer. You may say, hey, I'm looking for a house, and they can say, we have one, and we'll do all the direct deal. We kind of avoid that because of just the underwriting that's necessary to deal with an individual. We tend to deal with intermediaries, so developers that do that type of work. So as we've kind of moved from there to here, that has allowed us to basically do a lot of other type of programming. And even one thing I'll point out, for instance, the city has gained more confidence in us as an entity. Neighborhood stabilization program was a federal program that came through. And we ended up managing $8 million of the grant dollars for the city in terms of bringing over 180 units of housing to the city via that program under our guidance. So,
well, you hit on a couple of different things, important things here. Affordable housing has reached critical mass in this country, and we've got to make some big, bold moves in order to kind of resolve things.
Right.
I think your organization is really at the forefront of what public-private partnerships should be all about. I mean, we should be engaging not only the public sector, but also the private sector, because we're all in this together.
Right.
And as you well know, in building housing with the labor costs, material costs have risen quite dramatically over the last year. There's got to be some mechanisms in place to kind of make sure that those developments pencil out for the developer.
Correct.
I mean, developers, they run businesses, they don't run charities.
That's right.
So the numbers have to pencil out for them.
Right.
So that kind of underscores the importance of the public-private partnership.
That's right. That's right. Agreed.
Well, good deal. Let's talk about some of the signature projects that the Land Bank's been doing. Kind of looking back and as well as into the future, kind of what are some of the moments and projects you're most proud of?
Sure. So we've had a wide variety of projects. I would say one, when I first started, there was one abandoned apartment complex, South Atlanta, that we took from, we acquired it. We were using empowerment zone funds, which is an old program from way back to the Clinton era and all this type of stuff. We actually bought an apartment complex. We worked with National Church Residences, and that turned it into a vibrant senior living center.
Excellent.
48 units were delivered there. Great public-private partnership there. We got the land, city provided the money.
Perfect.
National Church Residents provided the resources to do that. We did, I mentioned before, the Neighborhood Stabilization Program. We managed $8 million to produce 180 plus units of housing there.
That was a significant ROI.
Yes.
180 units out of $8 million. You guys put your thinking caps on, didn't you?
We did, and actually, it helped to leverage the balance sheets of developers.
Absolutely.
And this gets back to the comment you just made is, one of the benefits we brought was a below market acquisition cost for the land, and then also subsidy going into the development. And therefore some of the capital stack was actually a forgivable element, right? And so that allowed you to basically reach in there, deliver affordable product while actually producing market level quality. So that was one. The Police Foundation. So we've actually delivered police housing. We have a secure neighborhood initiative. We've taken abandoned single family houses and worked with the Atlanta Police Foundation, and we've delivered at this point 2 officer houses. We also held land for over 7 years in the English Avenue neighborhood. That was ultimately just recently unveiled as Unity Place, which is the largest, the first all cadet apartment housing for police forces.
Police force candidates.
For candidates, that's correct.
That are going through the program.
That's right. So we actually held that land and we managed it, and we tried to keep it triaged and fenced and all of that. So that was another project that we've been involved in. There's another project I want to point out. There was an apartment complex, South Atlanta, that was really a bad place. It had fallen into disrepair. Folks were living in very, unsafe conditions.
Is that one of the ones that was focused on the AJC?
It's not one of those, but it preceded that.
Preceded that.
And so we actually were able to work with a previous developer that had some thoughts of how they would get it done. They failed to accomplish their goal. But based on the way we structure our programs, we actually had control of the asset.
Excellent.
And so we forced them to actually sell it to a new developer. That new developer is actually halfway done. It's 440 units.
Phenomenal.
Half have been delivered. The other half will be delivered first quarter of next year. So that'd be 440 fresh new units, gut rehab that's being delivered. And that's basically, gets back to the transactional conversations. We built in enough safeguards and clauses and reach backs into the documents that we were able to control the outcome. And so that was another deal that we would be involved in.
It's all part of the planning process, man.
Yes.
If you guys plan adequately, accurately, and succinctly, you'll have good outcomes.
That's correct. So that's correct. So yes.
Great. So last question on affordable housing. I know you're involved in the efforts with the city of Atlanta. Where do you see the affordable housing problem being resolved? How do you see it shaking out over the next 5 years or so?
Sure. I mean, from a macro perspective, there's been a lot of analysis about it. We are trying to produce as much affordable housing with the assistance of the public as possible. Mayor Dickens has identified a goal of 20,000 units of housing that it wants to deliver.
That's an aggressive goal, man.
It's an aggressive goal, but it's actually not enough. Okay. So I think when you look back and you peel it back and look at the need,
right.
We as we mentioned before, the city has a problem that a lot of cities would like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Money Magazine just named Atlanta as the #1 city in America, right, according to their analysis, and so that attracts a lot of folks. So we are really trying to leverage land that the public can control and provide as more subsidized element of the housing equation.
Got it.
Right, and also along with that, if we control the land, we can also guide what is built on the land.
Got it.
So also in terms of that, we can reserve and we're patient landowners. We can say, we have these properties. We would like for you to build affordable housing on this piece of property.
Right.
We don't want to just sell it for market return because it's not our business.
Right.
We are going to have a return, but we're going to have more of a gentle return than a max return.
Got it.
For instance, we work with the Atlanta Land Trust, which does permanently affordable housing, and we have an MOU with them that we will sell property at 25% of the market value
of the appraised
appraised value, right? And so they're able to enter into neighborhoods and places that 75% is basically equity built into the project, and so we look at it as our equity contribution to that project, and so we're trying to do that. I think the collective the uses of the funds from Invest Atlanta, bund funds, subsidy, federal funds, wherever we can kind of shrink down that housing cost equation. We can try to do that. One thing we can't control is the cost of materials, cost of labor.
Sure.
So that's one of the challenges when you're dealing with this equation, and so we kind of want to be catalytic, encourage other entities to kind of get involved into this affordable housing push. And so I think with some folks may not have seen opportunity, we hope they can say, well, the land bank has some land, they have some things, there's opportunity. Maybe we can actually work in this space and pencil out. We don't make our 25% return, but we make our 12% return.
12%, and you do it consistently.
And you do it consistently.
There you go.
That's still a good way to run a business.
Absolutely.
So.
All right, Christopher Norman, Executive Director, Metro Atlanta Land Bank. I want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to come in and just kind of demystifying what your organization is all about.
Sure.
And also highlight the great work that you're doing on behalf of the City of Atlanta and the Fulton County and the state of Georgia in general.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
All right.
Thanks for watching The Playbook with Mark Collier.